Hey guys, welcome to episode 19 of eSports Edition. And as the first episode of the 2016 year, I wanted to tackle a common misconception that I see slowly gathering more and more steam, especially as there are more and more numbers associated with the growth of esports as a phenomenon and an industry. And that's the false equivalence being made between esports and other major professional sports. Now, quick disclaimer, I'm not arguing for or against esports as a sport. I'm simply saying that it is not a major professional sport because there are three characteristics of a major professional sport esports currently does not have. And the first of which is regulation. The second is independent singular ownership of the professional sport product or the professionalization of the sport. And the third is a single face for representing that professionalization. Now, to start with regulation, obviously anyone who's familiar with competitive gaming knows regulation is not a strength of the space. And a lot of people will look at you funny when the word is brought up, but if in fact esports at any point in time ever has designs or intends to move towards the category of major professional sport as opposed to quasi-professional scene that we kind of that's there today, regulation has to be there. Regulation just gives you that structure. It sounds like a bad word, but you have to have rules. I read an interesting article about how in basketball the sport was formed, like there were very few rules associated with like the game, and so like it started with a, a ball and a peach basket set atop a 10-foot pole. And literally, and it was the coolest article because they were saying that like there were no rules, there was no backboard. I mean, people would like throw the ball from there was no out of bounds, there was nothing, and the rules evolved with the game because like it was chaos, it was mass chaos, it was a fun game, but you know the game couldn't grow, it couldn't scale without adding the rules, and regulations are that at a higher level. You have to have them unless you just want a really cool chaotic scene where you don't know what the hell is going to happen from day to day, or you know anything could happen because there's just no sense of structure. So that the second piece and element of a major professional sport that's missing for competitive gaming and esports is independent ownership. To use the world's top esport title, League of Legends, as an example, Riot Games is kind of like the end-all be-all as it relates to owning their professional scene. They are the judge, jury, and executioner. Unfortunately, Riot Games is a private company owned by Tencent Holdings that has its own agenda, as it should, like every company. Now, as the professional scene grows, it's going to become literally impossible for Riot to separate their conflict of interests in their business or the enterprise side of their operations from the esport from management of their professional esports scene. It's happening already. And so what major professional sports have is they don't have like a there's not some company somewhere that's selling, let's just say like for the NBA, right? Let's just say the company that sells the basketballs for the NBA also owned or ran the league. I mean, wouldn't that be kind of weird? I mean, you'd think, hey, they're a company that sells basketballs. Their business model is to sell more basketballs. They're going to do whatever it takes to sell more basketballs. It'd be kind of weird if they were in charge of an entire professional scene. So there needs to be the NBA. It needs to be that independently owned or independent entity that owns the professional scene. Now, of course, does that mean it's totally objective or any organization or a professionalized entity like that is objective? No. I mean, look at FIFA. They're totally corrupt. They were totally corrupt up to recently. And anything run by humans will run the risk of being that. But you have to have that independence in terms of ownership of the professional scene. And the third piece is you have to have a single face, right? Just like companies have a CEO for a reason, a CEO doesn't make all the decisions for a company. It simply represents the interests of its board members. A major professional scene has to have a single face. There has to be something that the public can look to and say, those are the guys that are in charge, even if they're only representing the interests of players, teams, organizations, and businesses associated with it. You have to have that. I mean, imagine a company without a CEO. It could happen. It'd be crazy. It'd be very confusing if every major announcement another member of the board or another employee were giving interviews, right? So that single face really helps pull things together in the eyes of the public. So those are the three elements of a major professional sport: regulation, independent ownership, and a single face for the professional scene that need to exist in esports before it can be considered a major professional sport. That's all I have for this segment. I'll catch you guys later. Take it easy.